growth area, and there's a lot of opportunities.
I think one of the things that's been happening with technology, we've seen a lot of education around technology, also a lot of education around neuroscience and how that, the brain is being impacted by technology, by the foods that we introduce at meetings, by a lot of different things. But one of the things that I just learned is that one of the things that human brains actually like is mistakes. So I would say that what I'm starting to see is that, as you just said, there's a lot of trial and error. I'm actually seeing a lot more forgiveness of people when the things aren't quite right. So there's not, so that we're allowing a bit more flexibility for trial and error, whereas perhaps even a decade ago we were a bit more like hardline. If something wasn't perfect, we sure heard about it, whereas I think I'm seeing a bit more flexibility. Do you think that is perhaps a little bit generational?
Lord knows I'd like it to be. I'd like people to be a little more flexible when something goes wrong, but I haven't experienced it personally yet, but we'd love to see that happen more often.
Yeah.
And I think maybe where some of that flexibility comes in is, I think in events, if you've taken care of the basic needs that they have, and some of those other things are secondary. So if it's a great event experience with the food and the beverage and those basic necessities, restrooms, things like that, then some of the other pieces are a little bit more secondary.
Perhaps. All right. Any last thoughts on what else we're going to start to see for this year, Carl? Maybe what do you see coming up in the year?
Probably, I don't know. The biggest thing I see within our industry is really that connectivity. I think we've got all of our clients. We do a ton of transportation, and they're saying we want to know when our client gets to the airport. They want to know when they're in a vehicle. They want to know when they've hit the hotel. They want to know each step of the way. And
it's true. Before we used to just be happy when we knew the flight landed.
Yeah. So, they're wanting alerts a few minutes out before the client's there. They want, details of where the vehicles are, where they are along the trip.
And you can provide all of that now.
And we can.
Yeah, which it's true. A decade ago, we wouldn't even have considered anything beyond a phone call from the airport as being very cutting edge. So.
But that's why we're relying on all those millennials now, who are basically figuring out how we're going to get text arrivals and everything else that's going on. Tying into one of my baby boomer type responses, I will let you know that I see obviously cutting edge technology with regard to video mapping.
Yes.
A lot of that's going on. We've incorporated a tremendous amount of that in our recent events, obviously over New Year's Eve, some of the upcoming events that we have. There was a tremendous session yesterday, and there's another one this afternoon, just talking about how to incorporate that technology into an event, into a space, or taking a space, a building, a park, okay, and using that outdoors and allowing technology to now tell your story, painting it on the trees, painting it on the buildings, so that you don't have to be confined to what we would be considering a traditional space or a venue. The venue could be whatever it is now you digitally create. I'd say that's what I think is a trend.
I think that is an awesome way to finish our meeting podcast for today. Thank you so much, Lenny Tallarico, for taking some time with us today in Carl Heights. I've never been to Denver. Look forward to coming there one day. And thank you very much from Tahira Endine, roving reporter. Here we are, Tahira Endine, roving reporter for Meeting Podcast. We're at the special event in Chicago 2013. I'm with Lars Eriksson and Emma Fortier from Special Event Rentals in Edmonton. What I think is super cool about this is that I know that some of you think that in Canada we're still in igloos, which we're totally not. We are super exciting, trend-setting designers and producers as well. And we've worked with Special Event Rentals for probably about at least a decade, and have always been really happy with how progressive the products have remained and how we've really been able to work and create really beautiful events with your support. And so I see you at the show, you're looking at some new things, buying some stuff. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about trends. What are you guys seeing out there? What's happening?
Well, one thing that we were kind of on the hunt for when we first arrived were gold, all things gold, as far as votives or centerpieces or different elements that you can tie in more than just linen. And that was something that we had a hard time sourcing for a while, just some good gold metallic pieces. And we were able to find some this time around, so we're quite excited about those.
Yeah, and I think that all things metallic, like coppers, the bronzes, even the dull finishes, not just the shiny, not just the bright and shiny, but and it's translating now into linens with sparkle linens and sequin linens, and the linen companies don't have just one sequin linen anymore. They have 4 or 5 or 6 different lines, which really surprised me, but it's great because we've been able to find some great pieces.
And not just different colors, but different weights, different size of sequins, and different concentration of how much is on there. Is it just a touch of sequin? Is it completely sequin? And so there was a lot of diversity for us to pull from, which is what we're always looking for to offer our clients.
Yeah, and I think another thing it ties in with the gold and the metallics, is the crystal bling is still out there.
Yes.
I thought it would come and go a lot quicker than it has, but I think it's more refined now than what it was. We're not seeing the crystal curtains used for backdrops.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the gaudy pieces, but we're seeing some really refined pieces that you could use. I mean, in your home, I guess, even if you wanted, but just really classy, timeless pieces that blend the metallic and the crystal.
I would say, now one of the things that I noticed that you guys were also doing is taking advantage of the fact that some of your clients are here. And I'm not talking about me, but you had lots of other clients who were here. And so did you find that it's a good opportunity for a couple of reasons to be here with them?
That's one of the most important reasons for us, the social component that we get here at the show, to not only connect with the clients and just catch up and touch base and have some good one-on-one time, but also we can utilize them when we're on the trade show floor. We're drawn to the things that we like and we think will be applicable for us, but the fact that the people that are right in our market are here as well, we can draw from them, and it gives us an opportunity to look at the diverse clients that they're serving and have those planners right with us that are going to say, I have a client that wants that, I have a client that wants that.
Yeah.
And so it gives us just that affirmation that, yeah, that product will move, or we can get that.
Right. Like usually I come back from the shows and the planners and designers at home on our staff are shocked and dismayed by what I bring.
He's had some doozies. He's had some doozies.
I've also had some great pieces, brought some great pieces. But so this gives me a confidence in knowing I can go with a planner and say, hey, do you like this? Do you want that? What do you want? And buy it and know that it's going to move. Because what we necessarily think is going to rent and is going to move off the shelves and out of the warehouse and into events in Canada is not always what happens.
Well,
it helps
also
mitigate the risk for us.
Absolutely, but you also have a really great diversity of clients because you've got clients that are corporate clients and association and incentive and
Wedding, the bridal market.
lots of weddings. So so it really is about speaking to all of those markets and
That's right.
being able to service that.
Yeah, and being here at TSC helps us do that because you do have the broad range of planners. And they can find the pricing of what it's going to cost to purchase an item online, or they're not dumb. They know what things cost. So I'm not afraid of them knowing what we paid for an item.
Yeah.
Because I think they also appreciate the fact that they don't have to store it, they don't have to clean it, they don't have to move it. So that's really what they're paying for.
I can tell you as a client, we've made a decision that we are not going to be a rental warehouse. We are going to really use the vendors that we have who have great pieces, but when we're designing events, they can always be different because we're not trying to move stuff out.
Right.
And so we might, in our case, we might bring a lot of things from you and then a few pieces from somewhere else that we find are really good. But you do have such a broad range that we can quite often, it can be a one-stop shop, which I appreciate.
And that's what we try to offer. We want to be that kind of a resource that has the strength to provide more than just one component of the event, because then that lets you focus on what you need to focus on in the logistics and the management and the event and the client, and we come in as the supplier.
Now, what are you finding for seating? Are you guys seeing some different trends in what's happening with seating at events? And
I'm seeing a trend towards different chair styles, actually, and just a bit more versatility in color and shape of the actual chair. Not so much with covering the chair, but actually using the chair as a design piece itself. So that's a trend that I'm excited about because that kind of makes my heart beat fast. I like furniture design and structure more so than just always covering it up. So I saw some good pieces about that.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed in the industry, not even here, but is that venues are getting new chairs, and the chairs are great. We have a few different venues in Edmonton that I can think of off the top of my head that have beautiful chairs that you shouldn't be covering because they're part of the space, and they work so well with it. So. But I think we are moving away, like Emma said, from the covered, from the wraps, from the coverings, and to just great chair pieces. And people are realizing that it's an investment, and it can make their event great by having those.
The chair has such a high impact in an event. Like it's what you see.
true, from
the
comfort and
biggest
from
impression.
style and-
yeah, when
yeah.
you walk into the room and you see chairs, there's one chair for every person that's there usually. So it's. Just
Are you still finding that
important to
people
get-
are seating for everybody?
It depends on the event. If it's
Yeah.
full service meal, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and it is hard. It depends on the event, right? The number of chairs per
Yeah.
guest ratio, but because some events, if it's long, like last night, and I've been out 3 nights in a row previously, I kind of just wanted to sit for a few minutes, and
Yeah.
it was hard finding a chair. At the same time, I realized it wasn't that kind of event. But,
Right. And have you seen people moving away from just strictly round tables and into other?
Oh yeah, which is
Yeah.
great. It's exciting. It provides a lot more visual interest in a room when they have different shapes and different layouts, configurations, so that it's not your traditional round. That can get a little bit repetitive and boring. So I love seeing that, the mix of different shapes of tables and different configuration.
Yeah, and I think people, even the brides, aren't afraid to do something different than
Yeah.
that. To try something else because they'll see it online
Yes.
and they see see it on TV or movies or whatever, and that's what they want, and they get that idea in their head, and that's great that they're not afraid to just go a little bit outside the box and get away from the the 5 or 6 foot rounds.
Yeah, that's right.
Especially the 6 foots.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but in certain spaces they make sense, don't
Absolutely. You know,
Right.
we do a lot of events that need the 6 foot rounds because the groups are 600 to 800 people and that 2,000
Logistically,
people.
you just need it.
Yeah, so that is
That's right.
absolutely what makes sense. Now, if you were designing your perfect event, what would be some of the components you'd want to include? You'd want to include some different styles of seating.
Yeah, for me, as I said, I love furniture design.
Yeah.
So my perfect event would focus on great furniture pieces, the chairs, the tables,